Hi everyone. So in this session, we are actually going to be using the CEFR to design curriculum and help you figure out how to really use it in a practical form. So the CEFR, when you really look at the background, it was a background of all these different language practitioners from, say, French, Spanish, German, Portuguese, coming together and saying we're going to write a kind of generic document that describes outcomes but standardizes all the levels. So it was really built by a whole bunch of different language institutions or countries and saying let's find a way to standardize what learners can do at each level just to make the explanation a lot easier. So it's a very general framework for outcomes, and the goal was really this: to make it easier for people to explain to each other what people can do and can't do. So just as a review, right? In the previous sessions, we talked about the different kinds of scales. And in this scale, this is just a review. This is called the global scale. This is the most general part. You can just see the different things. A1, which would be beginner. A2, upper beginner. B1, intermediate. B2, upper intermediate. And C1 would be proficient. And the global scale will describe, in the most general sense, how what a learner can do at a particular level. So this is just a quick video. I'm gonna insert this into the slides and then just a quick overview again of what is the CEFR.
As a language learner or teacher, you may have heard of Common European Framework of Reference, or CEFR. But what is it, and why does it matter for English language learners? It's actually pretty simple. Different learners have different levels of language ability, but opinions about your English level can be subjective. Your friends may think your English is good, but an employer might think it is not good enough, and you may be better at some skills than others. For example, you may be able to read better than you can speak. We need a clear, objective way to describe language skills that everyone can agree on. This is what the CEFR provides. The CEFR breaks down language learning into 6 levels, which it calls A1 to C2. The starting point, A1, describes a very basic language level. As a learner, you can move up the levels until you reach proficiency, C2 level. This is a really advanced level. By describing what you can do in reading, writing, speaking and listening, the CEFR will tell you where you are on the journey from beginner, A1, through to proficiency, C2. There are many Cambridge English exams available for different ages and stages of learning, all matched to CEFR levels, from young learners through to university and the workplace, or simply for travel. The CEFR was developed by the Council of Europe with extensive support from University of Cambridge ESOL examinations. People from all over the world use the CEFR to explain what level of English they are at and what level of English they need. It is used by learners, teachers, universities, governments and employers. The CEFR has been very influential, and not only in Europe. It's been published in more than 35 languages.
Okay, so after you actually look at the very general documents of the CFR, which apply to all languages, this would be the general scale, and it's still super generic. And then the self-assessment grid, still very general. Each language writes their own. And the the individual scales, which are a lot more detailed, but still they don't have anything about grammar because every language has different grammar components. For example, French and Spanish would have more tenses than English. They have what you call the subjunctive tense, which English doesn't have. Tagalog has even less tenses. We have very few tenses as compared to European languages. So when you write the CFR, you couldn't actually write grammar because that would the grammar structures are different based on what language that is. But when we start teaching it, we find that it's very difficult to kind of figure out what to teach and when. So what each language had to do is actually come up with resource level descriptors, which is really a detailed way to teach the language and figure out what can people actually do just for this particular language based on the CFR. So the resource level descriptors are one level down, one piece of detail, a little bit more detailed. So let's just look at the resource level descriptor for English. It's actually, you can find it online here at englishprofile.org. So this website is englishprofile.org. It is really the resource level descriptor for English. So it has a couple of very cool things. It has a vocabulary profile, and it also has a grammar profile. So if we look at the vocabulary profile, you can use the website and you just click something like A1, click search, and it tells you all the words that should be taught, or an A1, someone at the level A1 should know. Okay, so here it'll tell you all the words that if someone is in A1, they would know. And so if I press A2, A2, I can search, and you can even click, okay, what sorts of prepositions should they know, and click search, and it's actually going to tell you these are the prepositions that somebody in A2 should know. If you're CFR A2, you should know all of these things. Next, they have a grammar profile. So the same thing. So for example, what grammar skills would someone at the A1 level know? So if I score A1, then everything here I should know how to do, right? So how does that help you as someone in the academe? It's really saying if someone has a particular CFR level, I know roughly what words they can do, what grammar skills they can do, and what things they cannot do. So actually, that's very useful to understand what students can do. And secondly, as well, when I'm teaching someone and they come up to me and say, okay, my level is A1, then I say, okay, so I need to teach you all the A2 skills. So I can just click A2. It's going to say, these are all the things I have to teach you. And then here, I can click A2. And again, these would be all the things I have to teach you, right? So if I'm teaching an A1 learner who wants to get to A2, I could just quickly see these are all of the things I have to teach you. And then when you know all of these things, you will be in A2. So that's what the resource level descriptors are for. And they should be done really, they're done on a per language basis. So the CFR is done for all languages. The resource level descriptors are only done for one language. So in addition to the resource level descriptors, they came up with what we call, again, something even more detailed, where I wish actually a full curriculum, which is called the E equals core inventory project. They held this in a series of workshops. Language professionals from around the world came together just for the language of English and said, okay, what does the CFR mean, and how can we teach each particular level and simplify that? So that's what the E equals core inventory project is. All right. So actually, I'm gonna put this QR code here because what's gonna be maybe if you're seeing this live in the printout is only kind of a one pager, but you'll actually need this for the activity. So here I'll just leave this here, but I'll also put it in the description in the download description. All right. So here we go. So this is the E equals project result. So they'll have things divided into levels. So these A1, A2, B1. And if I'm teaching someone completely zero, right? Completely zero, and I need him to get to kind of a higher level of, then I say, okay, to get to A1, I have to teach you all these skills, right? So that's from 0 to A1, right? And then if I have a B1 learner and I need to teach, then I need to get him to B2. I'll say, okay, to teach all these skills, we'll get someone from B1 to B2, right? So that's actually how we use the CFR to teach. Secondly, this is how we can use it in real life, and this is really where the CFR comes to play. If I have someone at a particular level, again, if I'm a language teacher, if I'm a registrar, I want someone to come into my course, and they say, okay, I have a certificate for you. So, for example, they say I am a B2 learner. Then you can quickly use this table to understand what they can and cannot do. Okay, so actually, we're gonna go to the activity, right? And I'm gonna show you. So now we're actually going to look. And in this activity, we're gonna highlight which skills a learner in CFR B2 should know. So basically, if he's in B2, he means I've learned the A1, A2, B1, and B2 skills. So, and B2 skills. I'm going to plus B2 skills. Okay, so I'm actually going to pause it and the slide will change. I'm going to add B2. So the activity is, and you're supposed to pause this for 30 seconds, which skills a learner in CFR should know how to do. So if I'm in B2, the B2, this would be something like a TOEIC 785. This would also be IELTS. I'll just put IELTS. This would be an IELTS 5.5. And this would be a TOEFL, I think that's going to be a TOEFL 87. So if they have any of these scores and they're coming into your class, you can tell them, these are the things you should know. These are the things you should know and be able to do. So pause here, and then we're gonna go over the answers. So we're actually coming back, and these would be the answers. So if I'm a B2 learner, meaning I have either a student comes to you and says I'm a TOEIC score of 785, TOEFL of 87. As a teacher, these are the things this learner should know, right? They should know how to do comparative superlatives, tallest, smallest. They should know how to use modals, which is must, can't, relative clauses, countable and uncountable nouns, gerunds. They should know how to do this, but you don't expect them to do the C1 level work, right? So the CFR does not tell you what to teach, but it will also tell you what a learner should or shouldn't know, and it helps you just figure out what I have to teach them. So it's very helpful for language teachers, book developers, etc. So we're able to grade people a certain way. Okay, so that is generally the or the general overview of how we use the E equals framework, and it's actually divided into different parts. So we'll go through it. So first, you see functions. Functions refer to what items of a language uh, people actually do in a real context, as opposed to what they might mean literally. These include suggesting, criticizing, refusing, agreeing, disagreeing, inquiring, talk about the past, and giving advice. So if you're in A1 and I score A1, I can expect you to do these things. If you're in B1, then I can expect you to do all of these things. Okay, so that's how we use the E equals framework on also how to teach, and also figuring out what people know or don't know. Second, grammar. So for here, English grammar is the set of structural rules of the English language. This includes the structure of words, phrases, clauses, sentences, and whole text. So again, the CEFR does not talk about grammar. This is the resource level descriptor for English. Okay, this is not part of the CEFR document. This is someone or a language group. Language groups created the E equals document and says this is how we would implement that for the English language. This is not about the CFR. This is the resource level descriptor of English based on the CEFR multilingual document. So the CFR is not prescriptive. It's not prescriptive in any way. It just says what students can do. What we are studying is the resource level descriptor. So someone put it together and it does feel fairly prescriptive because of this language group created a full framework for us. If someone wants to create a different type or say, okay, I'm gonna do it a different way, but I'm still going to achieve the CFR outcomes, they can do that. And that would be a different, a version 2, version B resource level descriptor. But this is the one done by official governments. It's called the E equals core inventory. So in this case, it would be prescriptive because this is what they did this in order to simplify. But a different group is free to make their own implementation of the CFR. But this is just an easier way to just get started. And generally, a lot of people do follow this document because it makes it a lot easier to teach, and it fulfills all the outcomes needed by the CFR. So grammar, English grammar is the set of structural rules of the English language. This includes the structure of words, phrases, clauses, sentences, and whole text. So here, they couldn't do this in the CFR because again, every language is different. There's no subjunctive tense here because that's what exists in Spanish and French and I think Italian. But this would be the grammar for the English language. Okay, vocabulary, the types of words that should be taught for a particular level, they put it down here. Vocabulary list, again, we've shown you with englishprofile.org. They do have that vocabulary list and that grammar list on englishprofile.org. Discourse markers, the different types. So these are sample discourse markers and also, for example, such as, so they also talk about that a little bit in the E equals document. Topics, the main subject or overarching theme that is being discussed or described. So topics, again, the main subject or overarching theme that is being discussed or described. So these are all just kind of that one pager. And if you, again, download the E equals document, you can even look at the appendices and they make it very easy to see. So they say the different written sources. This is what an A1 learner would be able, if you're an A1, you should be able to do this. If you're in A2, you should be able to do, things like signs and notices that you see every day. So they discuss the different things. Even here, the functions, again, they make it look simplified. So if I have an A1 score, this is actually a TOEIC 225. I don't think IELTS goes as low as A1, but TOEIC, you can actually get A1 scores. If I have a TOEIC 225, which, 225 over 990, that means I'm in CFR A1. These are the functions I should be able to do, right? And then if I have a TOEIC score of around 550, which is CFR A2, I should be able to do these functions like requests and suggestions. Okay, so now there is an activity, and basically I'm gonna put the links below, and then we're gonna go over the answers in a bit. So this is the first part of the session. Thank you.